I'm a student. The BP MPV analysis on the spreadsheet is much simpler than the manual calculation because we have the friend of Excel function, the what if analysis with the goal seek. For example, we have this Blueprint Industry 5 years project and a lot of input variables and the spreadsheet. All the numbers are linked to the input variables with a function. Okay, let's take an example of number of units sold a year. How many number of units sold we have to sell to meet the BP, MPV, and BP and PV? That's the point. So the number of units sold or selling price, how much should be the selling price to meet the BP point? Because the MPV project, the MPV value $5,000 is the Blueprint Industry 5 years project. But we want to know the zero value. Maybe you can just manually change like 5. What about 900? And then all of a sudden it reduced. Then 700. Oh, it's minus. Oh, that manual, the change is very amateur. And it will take a long time to find the MPV, the BP point. So we use the data, the what if, and goal seek function. So number of units sold a year, data, what if analysis, goal seek. Then goal seek, we have to set up the cell for the objective. So HC6, which is net present value, and to value, which is BP point, the profit, MPV profit 0. By changing cell, the number of units sold a year, 1,000. Now just click. Then, oh, you can see this 765. Okay, I got it. 675 is the number of units sold a year. Then the MPV is equal to 0. So let's come back $1,000 to start another the BP analysis. Now it is not the BP analysis, but we want to maybe the project, the managers or your boss or investors want to know the what if the restriction period is not like 5 years. We have the specific period of restrict. So the 4 years. 4 years is restricted period for this project. That means that the investors want to return their initial investment at least the 4 years. Okay, so in that case, we also can set up the goal seek, the what if analysis, goal seek, and set the cell. Now we have to set the cell, the discounted payback period, to value 4 years restricted period by changing the cell. The input variables we want to change 12%. So, okay. Then we got the 5%. The 5%, I guess, a little bit different. Okay, 5.43%. So let's just write down the hard number there. And then we got it. So if we have the discount rate, the 5.43, then the discounted payback period will be the 4. Definitely the net present value or PI will be changed. Okay? So let's come back 12% as a base case. Then let's move on to the sensitivity analysis. Before jumping into this exercise, we want to just review the class notes we discussed during the Zoom class. The difference in the objective for the difference in input variables. So if we change some variables because we think, we assume that, or we predict or expect that this input variable is very sensitive to make the MPV variable, the variance or differentiated. So differences in the objectives based on the differences in input variables. Only one input variable is changed. So if we change the sales, how much deviation will be the fluctuated in the objective, for example, MPV. Then to predict most sensitive input variables, because we want to know some uncertainty related to the one of the input variables. So Let's try. The sensitivity analysis. The selling price, we can say, oh, maybe the selling prices can be almost the sensitive input variables that affect the NPV a lot. Then selling price, and then some deviations. We can just set up the 30%. What if the selling price went up from the basic case basis? So what is the selling price we set up? Okay, here we go, $15. You have to put the price $15 with a hard number. Don't link to the input section, because this number, if we link this number will be changed. When we use this the data table function. And then the NPV should be now linked to the project value, the investment criteria, because what we want to know is the NPV value variation when we change the selling price. So 30% deviation on the input variables, 0% or negative 30%. That deviation, under this deviation of the input variables, then this deviation of NPV is the objective. Okay. Number 2, set up the objective. We've done, and then we connected this to the spreadsheet. And then step 3, set up the deviation range. We did it. And step 4, set up the variable on each deviation with the formula. Now, how do we set up the formula? $15. Okay, the $15 times 1 plus 30%. So let's make it simple. Okay. So I fixed the selling price, and then let's drag down. So we got it. The selling price has this deviation in the dollar value, $15 base, and 30% up by deviation, $19.5, $10.5 when it is deviated by 30% negative down. And then NPV deviation, we want to calculate this NPV when the selling price changes. Maybe you can just use manually 19.5, and then then you can just write down the 11,619. But it's very manual amateur, because we are not just covering just one input variables. This is just an example of 2 cases. You may expect a lot of different input variables calculations, and then you want to change everything, and then manually typing. It takes a lot of time. So we set up the table, and then just use the sensitivity analysis data table. And then deviation, how to set up this deviation. How to set up? Okay, that is outcome. That is input minus 1. Then we get the percentage changes. And then this L8, which is NPV base case, let's set up. Let's fix it with $sign. Then if you drag this function, we set up all this. Next step is now very easy. You can just drag this area, the selling price input section, and the output section, which is NPV. So let's drag. And then data, what if analysis, and data table. So you have to be aware of this input part. Row input cell, we do not change row input cell. It's collected a column input cell. So what is a column input cell? Right, we want to affect the data table function into the spreadsheet right away. This column input cell C9. C9 is the selling price, because we set up the selling price, this column info cell. So okay, then it automatically creates. So I want you to practice yourself this part. Even you may found some different sensitivity factor. You can just set up the discount rate, whatever, what input variables you are curious about. Okay, thank you. See you in the next video clip. Bye bye.